I invited my husband's mistresses to our 30th anniversary dinner, both of them. And let me tell you, they had no idea what was coming. Neither did Ethan, for that matter. But I knew. Oh, I knew everything. And by the end of that night, they would all understand exactly who they'd been playing with. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. Let me tell you who I really am, and how a 55-year-old black woman who spent 3 decades building a life with a man decided to burn it all down in the most spectacular way possible. My name is Mara, and this is how I won. Hey, before I get into this story, if you're enjoying what you're hearing so far, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you're going to want to hear how this plays out. And drop a comment. Let me know if you've ever had to deal with betrayal like this. All right, let's get into it. 3 months before that dinner, I was doing laundry. That's how it always starts in the movies, right? Some mundane task. The wife finds lipstick on a collar, or receipts in a pocket, or a text message that pops up at the wrong time. In my case, it was simpler than that. It was a phone bill. Now, I know what you're thinking. Who even looks at phone bills anymore? Everything's auto-pay. Everything's digital. But I'm 55 years old, and I still like to review our statements. Call it old-fashioned. Call it controlling if you want. But that habit saved me from wasting any more years on a man who'd stopped valuing me. I was sitting at our kitchen table, the one we'd picked out together at that furniture store in Decatur 15 years ago, the one I'd refinish myself last summer because Ethan kept saying he'd do it and never did. And I was going through our family plan details. 3 lines. That's what we were supposed to have. Mine, Ethan's, and the one we kept for our daughter Zara, even though she was grown and living in Atlanta with her own family now. Emergency line, we called it. But there were 4 lines on this bill. I sat there reading and rereading that PDF on my laptop screen. 4 lines. And the 4th one? Thousands of texts. Thousands. To Ethan's number. My hands didn't shake. That's the thing I remember most clearly. My hands were steady as I clicked through the details, as I saw the patterns. Late night texts. Early morning texts. Texts sent while I was at work, while I was at church, while I was at my book club meetings that I never missed. I didn't confront him that day. I know. You're probably screaming at me right now, telling me that's when I should have said something. But here's what you need to understand about being a black woman of a certain age, especially one who grew up in the South, raised by a grandmother who survived things I can't even imagine. You don't move until you know everything. You watch. You wait. You gather your information like you're building a case because, baby, you are building a case. So I watched. I started paying attention to things I'd stopped noticing years ago. The way Ethan's face lit up when his phone buzzed. The way he'd started going to the gym. The gym 5 times a week when the man hadn't voluntarily exercised since our wedding day. The new cologne. The suddenly trimmed beard. The shirts I didn't buy him. I watched him lie to me with a smile on his face. Working late again, baby, he'd say, kissing my forehead like he actually meant it. This new project is killing me. And I'd smile back and say, don't work too hard. You want me to save you a plate. Playing the role. That's what I was doing. Playing the role of the unsuspecting wife while I figured out my next move. 2 weeks after I found that phone bill, I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed him. It was a Thursday. Ethan said he had a meeting that would run late, wouldn't be home until 9 or so. I told him that was fine. I had my book club anyway. But I didn't go to book club. I called Ella, my best friend since high school, told her I needed her to cover for me. And I sat in my car outside Ethan's office building at 5:47 p.m., waiting. He came out at 6:15. And he wasn't alone. She was young. That's the first thing I noticed. Maybe 30, 32 at most. Pretty in that effortless way some women are, with box braids that fell down her back and a walk that said she knew exactly how good she looked. She was laughing at something Ethan said, touching his arm, and he was looking at her the way he used to look at me. Used to. They got into his car. Our car. The SUV I'd helped him pick out that I'd sat in the passenger seat of for countless road trips and grocery runs and Sunday drives after church. And they drove to an apartment complex about 3 miles away. I parked across the street, watched them go inside together. An hour and 43 minutes later, they came back out. Her hair was Messier. His shirt was untucked. I drove home, walked into our bedroom, and looked at the bed we'd shared for 30 years. And I still didn't cry. I was too angry to cry. The next day, I called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. I'm an office manager at a dental practice, have been for the past 12 years. Dr. Reynolds, he's good people, and he told me to take whatever time I needed. He probably thought I had the flu or something. He had no idea I was about to conduct an investigation that would make a private detective proud. First thing I did was get that phone bill printed out. Every page, every detail. I highlighted patterns, made notes, created a timeline. Then I did something I'm not particularly proud of, but I'm not sorry about either. I got into Ethan's computer. Now, Ethan thought he was slick. He had passwords on everything. But baby, I'd been watching him type those passwords for years. And men, I swear, they think they're so clever, but they all do the same thing. They use variations of the same password for everything. His laptop password, our wedding date, plus his mama's initials. His email password, same thing, different order. Took me less than 10 minutes to get into everything. And that's when I found out about Samantha, the girl. And yes, I'm calling her a girl because at 31, she was young enough to be our daughter. Her name was Samantha Pierce. She worked in marketing at a company that partnered with Ethan's firm. They'd met at a conference in Birmingham 8 months ago. 8 months. I read through their emails, every single one. And let me tell you, there's something about reading someone else's words about your husband that cuts different than just knowing. Seeing her call him baby. Seeing him tell her she was beautiful. Seeing them make plans, talk about the future, discuss things like I didn't exist. I wish I could wake up next to you every morning. She'd written, soon, he'd replied. I promise. Soon. I sat there at his desk, in the home office we'd set up together, surrounded by pictures of our life, our wedding photo, Zara's graduation, family vacations, 30 years of memories, and I read about how my husband was planning to leave me. And that's when I found the credit card statement, hidden in a folder labeled Work Expenses 2019, like I wouldn't think to look there. A credit card I didn't know about, and the charges on it told another story entirely. Dinners at restaurants I'd never been to, a hotel in Savannah, jewelry from a boutique downtown, more charges at the same apartment complex I'd followed them to. But here's the thing that made me actually laugh out loud. A sharp sound that echoed in the empty house. There was a second pattern of charges. Different restaurants, different hotels, another jewelry store. My husband wasn't just cheating on me. He was cheating on me with 2 women, and he was using a secret credit card to fund both affairs. The audacity, the sheer, unmitigated audacity of this man. Okay, pause. If you're listening to this and your jaw is on the floor right now, go ahead and hit that like button and comment below if you saw that second woman coming, because I sure didn't. All right, back to the story. It took me another week to identify the second woman. Her name was Mira Lawson, and she was 43 years old, divorced, no kids, worked as a real estate agent. And according to the very thorough internet search I conducted, bless Google and social media, she was someone Ethan had known for years. They'd gone to college together. I found pictures of them from back in the day, group photos from Howard University, both of them young and full of promise. I found out she'd moved back to Georgia 2 years ago after her divorce. I found her Facebook page, her Instagram, her LinkedIn profile. And I found photos of her and Ethan from 6 months ago tagged at a restaurant with a caption that made my stomach turn, rekindling old flames. Fire. 6 months with Mira. 8 months with Samantha. My husband was running 2 separate relationships, managing 2 different women, living 2 different lives, and somehow finding time to come home and pretend everything was normal with me. I started watching him differently after that. Not just watching, studying. How did he keep it all straight? When did he see them? How did he manage the logistics of 2 affairs plus a marriage? Turns out he had a system. Mondays and Wednesdays were Samantha days. He'd tell me he had late meetings or client dinners, or some excuse that I'd stopped questioning years ago because I trusted him. Those nights, he'd be at her apartment, playing house with a woman who probably thought she was the only one, who probably believed all his promises about leaving me soon. Tuesdays and Thursdays were Mira nights. Those were the gym days. He'd pack a bag, say he was going to work out, and then grab a bite after. He'd be gone for hours, and I'd be at home, sometimes going to my actual book club, sometimes watching TV, sometimes just sitting in the silence of our house, completely unaware. Fridays he came home. That was family night, he'd say. That was us time. Saturdays were split. Morning with one of them, usually Mira from what I could piece together. Afternoon and evening with me, playing the devoted husband. Sundays were church and family day. He was always home for Sunday dinner, always present, always playing the role of the good Christian man. The man had a schedule. I almost had to admire the organization of it all. Almost. I didn't tell anyone at first. Not even Ella, and Ella knew everything about me. We'd been friends for 40 years, since we were teenagers sitting in the back of the church, passing notes, and trying not to laugh during service. She'd been my maid of honor. I was godmother to her son. We talked every day, but I didn't tell her, because I knew what she'd say. She'd tell me to confront him, to leave him, to put him out of the house and file for divorce. And I wasn't ready for that yet. I had a different plan. It started forming in my mind, slowly, piece by piece, like a quilt coming together. My grandmother used to make quilts, spent hours cutting fabric and stitching it all together into something beautiful. She taught me patience. She taught me that the best things take time. This was going to take time. Our 30th anniversary was 3 months away, November 15th. We'd been planning to have a small celebration, maybe dinner at a nice restaurant, maybe renew our vows at the church like we talked about. But I had a better idea. I was going to host an anniversary dinner at our house, and I was going to invite some very special guests. The planning became my obsession. I'd lie next to Ethan at night, him snoring peacefully like he didn't have a care in the world, and I'd think through every detail, every moment, every word I'd say. I started being nicer to him. I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out. I started cooking his favorite meals again, started greeting him with a kiss when he came home, even when I knew he'd been with one of them, started suggesting we spend more time together, take a weekend trip, reconnect. He loved it. "Baby, you've been so good to me lately," he said one night, pulling me close. "I feel like we're back in our honeymoon phase." I smiled and kissed him and thought, you have no idea what's coming. Meanwhile, I was doing my research. I created fake social media accounts, started following both Samantha and Mira, learned everything about them, their favorite restaurants, their hobbies, their friends, where they shopped, what they did on weekends. Samantha was active on Instagram, posting pictures of her brunch dates and her work events, and her mystery man whose face she never showed but whose arm or hand was always in the frame. His watch, though, I recognized that watch. I'd given it to him for our 25th anniversary. Mira was more subtle. She posted on Facebook mostly inspirational quotes and real estate listings and photos from her hiking trips. But there were clues if you knew what to look for. A men's jacket in the background of one photo, a caption about spending time with someone special, a check-in at a restaurant on a Tuesday evening. I screenshotted everything, saved it all in a folder on my laptop, password protected, organized by date. And then, exactly 6 weeks before our anniversary, I made my move. I started with Samantha. I'd been watching her Instagram stories, and I knew she went to a particular coffee shop every Saturday morning. So I went there, dressed nice, professional, like I was just another woman grabbing coffee before running errands. And there she was, sitting at a corner table with her laptop open, typing away, occasionally sipping from an oversized latte. She was pretty up close. That hurt more than I expected it to. She had smooth skin, bright eyes, an easy smile that she flashed at the barista. She was wearing one of those athleisure outfits that young women wear now, looking effortlessly put together. I got my coffee and walked past her table, then stopped, like I'd just noticed her. "Excuse me," I said. "I'm so sorry to bother you, but are you Samantha Pierce?" She looked up, surprised but pleased. "Yes. Do we know each other?" "Not yet," I said, smiling warmly. "But I've seen your work. I'm looking for someone to help with marketing for an event I'm planning, and your name came highly recommended." This was the lie I'd prepared, and she bought it completely. We talked for 20 minutes. I told her I was planning a big anniversary celebration, that I wanted to do something special, that I needed help with invitations and social media promotion and making it memorable. She was enthusiastic, professional, already pitching ideas. "This sounds amazing," she said. 30 years, wow. That's real love right there." I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. Instead, I just smiled. "It is," I said. "We've been through a lot together, but I think this celebration is going to be unforgettable." We exchanged numbers. She had no idea who I was. Why would she? Ethan probably never showed her pictures of me, probably told her I was old or boring or that we were separated or whatever lie men tell when they're trying to justify their betrayal. 2 weeks later, I met with Mira. That was trickier because she'd actually met me before, years ago at a Howard reunion that Ethan and I attended, but that was over a decade ago, and people change. I'd changed. My hair was different now, shorter and natural instead of the relaxed style I used to wear. I'd lost weight after a health scare 3 years back. I was banking on her not remembering. I contacted her through her real estate website, said I was looking to downsize, wanted to see some properties. We met at her office on a Tuesday afternoon. She didn't recognize me. We toured 3 houses that I had no intention of buying, making small talk, building rapport. She was polished, professional, charming in a way that I could see would attract Ethan. She laughed easily. She was confident. She mentioned being divorced, mentioned being open to new possibilities in life. I bet she was. On our 3rd meeting, I made my move. "You know," I said, as we sat in her office going over paperwork, "I would never sign. I feel like we've met before." She tilted her head, studying me. "Really? I don't think so, but I meet so many people." "Maybe not," I said, letting it drop. Then, casually, "I'm actually in the middle of planning a big event. An anniversary dinner. I don't suppose you know anyone who does event planning on the side." Her eyes lit up. "Actually, I used to help plan events with my sorority. I'd be happy to help if you need it." Hook, line, sinker. Y'all, I need you to pause and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because this is about to get even better. Drop a comment and let me know, would you have had the patience to do what I did? All right, let's keep going. The next month was a performance worthy of an Oscar. I played the excited wife planning her dream anniversary celebration. I talked about it constantly. I got Ethan involved, asked his opinion on the menu, on the decorations, on the guest list. I'm thinking small, I told him. Intimate. Just our closest friends and family. He seemed relieved. Probably thought that meant his double life was safe for another day. Meanwhile, I was coordinating with both Samantha and Mira. Separately, of course. They each thought they were my only consultant. Samantha was handling the marketing and invitations, which I was actually going to use. Mira was helping with the venue setup and ambience. The irony of having my husband's mistresses help plan the event where I'd expose him wasn't lost on me. I kept everything separate. I'd meet with Samantha at coffee shops, always when Ethan was at work. I'd meet with Mira at her office or at the houses we were supposedly looking at. Neither of them knew about the other, just like neither of them knew about me. "Your husband is so lucky," Samantha said one day, as we finalized the invitation design. 30 years. That's the dream, you know? Finding someone who commits like that. I looked at her, this young woman who'd been sleeping with my husband for 8 months, who'd been helping him betray those 30 years, and I smiled. "He is lucky," I said, "very lucky. And after this dinner, I think everyone will see just how lucky he's been." The menu was easy. I knew what Ethan liked, obviously, but I also made sure to include dishes that I'd seen both Samantha and Mira post about on social media. Little touches, little details that would make sense later. The guest list, though, that took some thought. I invited our daughter Zara and her husband Ryan, of course. I invited Ella and her husband Malcolm. I invited my sister, Ethan's brother, a few close friends from church, people who'd known us for years, who thought they knew our marriage. And then I did something that made me smile every time I thought about it. I had Samantha send formal invitations to 2 special guests, herself and Mira. Your husband asked me to add a couple of his colleagues. I told Samantha, giving her their names and addresses. Last-minute additions. You know how it is. She didn't question it. Why would she? The invitations were beautiful. Cream cardstock with gold lettering. Join us in celebrating 30 years of love, commitment, and partnership. An evening of truth and reflection. I may have enjoyed writing that last part a little too much. Zara called me 5 days before the dinner. "Mama, you sure you want to do this big dinner? You've seemed stressed." My baby, always so perceptive. She was 32, married for 4 years now, working as a teacher in Atlanta. She looked like me, had my eyes and my cheekbones, but she had her daddy's smile. Used to love that smile. "I'm fine, honey," I told her. "Just want everything to be perfect." "It will be. You always make everything perfect." She paused. "How's Daddy been?" Interesting question. I wondered if she'd sensed something. Mothers and daughters, we have that connection. "He's been good," I said, excited about the dinner. That was true. Ethan was excited. He kept talking about the speeches people would give, about how it would be nice to be celebrated, about how proud he was of our marriage. Our marriage. The one he'd been systematically destroying for almost a year. I'd stopped sleeping well. Every night I'd lie there, planning, replaying scenarios in my head. What would I say? How would I say it? What would their faces look like when they realized? 3 nights before the dinner, Ethan rolled over in bed and pulled me close. "Thank you for this," he whispered, "for planning all of this, for sticking with me for 30 years. I know I'm not always easy to love." I thought about Samantha, about Mira, about the lies and the late nights and the secret credit card. "No," I said quietly, "you're not." He kissed my shoulder, already half asleep again. "Love you, baby." I stared at the ceiling until dawn. 2 days before the dinner, I did my final confirmations. Caterer confirmed. They'd be at the house at 4 p.m. to set up. Decorations delivered. Gold and cream balloons, elegant centerpieces, the whole 9 yards. Invitations sent. 22 people expected. Samantha confirmed attendance. She texted me that morning. So excited for Saturday. Can't wait to see how everything comes together. Mira confirmed attendance. She called the day before. I'm really looking forward to the dinner. Thank you for inviting me. If only they knew. I went to the hairdresser that Friday. Got my hair done, my nails done, bought a new dress. Deep purple, elegant, sophisticated. The dress of a woman who knew exactly what she was doing. Ella came over that evening. I'd finally told her everything 2 weeks earlier, and she'd been alternating between rage at Ethan and awe at my plan. Girl, I cannot believe you're actually doing this, she said, sitting at my kitchen table, watching me polish the good silverware. Are you sure? Are you really sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. He's going to lose his mind. Good, I said, holding a fork up to the light, checking for spots. He should have thought about that before he decided to betray me. Before he decided I wasn't enough. Before he decided that 30 years meant nothing. They're all going to be there. Everyone's going to know. I want them to know. I'm tired of protecting his reputation while he destroys mine. She reached across the table, grabbed my hand. You're the strongest woman I know. You know that. I squeezed back. I learned from the best. My grandmother didn't raise weak women. That night, I barely slept at all. I kept thinking about my grandmother, about the stories she used to tell me, about the strength it took to survive, to thrive, to stand up for yourself when the world wanted you to stay silent. Baby girl, she told me once when I was young and angry about some injustice I can't even remember now, there's a difference between being quiet and being weak. Sometimes the quietest ones are just waiting for the right moment to speak. And when they do, the whole world stops to listen. Tomorrow, the world was going to stop and listen. Saturday, November 15th, our 30th anniversary. I woke up at 6 a.m., even though I'd barely slept. Ethan was still snoring beside me, peaceful, unaware that this was the last morning he'd wake up as the man everyone thought he was. I got up, made coffee, stood in my kitchen watching the sunrise through the window. This house, we'd bought it 23 years ago when Zara was 9. I'd chosen the paint colors, the fixtures, the floors. I'd made it a home. I'd raised our daughter here. I'd built a life here. And he disrespected all of it. The caterers arrived at 4, right on schedule. They set up in the dining room, transformed it into something elegant and beautiful. The smell of good food filled the house. Prime rib, garlic mashed potatoes, roasted vegetables, all of Ethan's favorites. Ethan was upstairs getting ready, oblivious, probably texting one of his women to tell them he loved them while he prepared to celebrate 30 years with me. I went upstairs to our bedroom, closed the door, and got dressed. The purple dress fit perfectly. I did my makeup carefully, not too much, just enough. I wanted to look good. I wanted them all to see exactly what he was giving up. When I came downstairs, Ethan was in the living room, and the look on his face when he saw me almost made me falter. "Mara," he said softly, "baby, you look beautiful." "Thank you," I said, my voice steady. He crossed the room, tried to kiss me. I let him, even though my skin crawled. 30 years, he said. "Can you believe it?" "No," I said honestly. "I really can't." Okay, friends, we're about to get to the main event. If you're not already subscribed, do that now because you're not going to want to miss what happens next. And hit that like button. I can see you listening without liking. All right, here we go. Guests started arriving at 6. Zara and Ryan came first. My baby looked beautiful in a red dress, her natural hair styled in an elegant updo. She hugged me tight. "You okay, Mama?" she whispered in my ear. I will be," I whispered back. Ella and Malcolm arrived next, and Ella gave me a look that said everything. She knew what was about to happen. She tried one last time to talk me out of it yesterday, but she knew me well enough to know that once I'd made up my mind, there was no changing it. More guests filtered in. My sister, Ethan's brother, friends from church, everyone dressed up, everyone smiling, everyone ready to celebrate a marriage they thought was solid. At 6:25, Samantha arrived. I watched from the kitchen as Ethan answered the door. Watched his face go from welcoming smile to pure shock. Watched him freeze in the doorway. "Hi," Samantha said brightly, clearly confused by his reaction. "I'm here for the anniversary dinner. Mara invited me to help with the marketing consultation." I walked up behind Ethan, placed my hand on his shoulder, felt him tense. "Samantha, so glad you could make it. Come in, come in." I smiled at her warmly, then looked at Ethan. "Honey, this is Samantha Pierce. She's been helping me plan this whole event. Isn't she wonderful?" He couldn't speak, just stood there, his eyes darting between me and her, trying to figure out what was happening, trying to calculate his next move. "Please come in," I said to Samantha, stepping aside. "Let me introduce you to everyone." She walked in, and I watched Ethan's face, watched the panic set in, watched him realize that somehow, some way, I knew, but he didn't know how much I knew. Not yet. At 6:32, the doorbell rang again. "I'll get it," I said sweetly, and walked to the door. Mira stood there, dressed in a sleek black dress, holding a bottle of wine, smiling. "Mara, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to finally—" She stopped, looked past me into the house, saw Ethan standing in the hallway, frozen, saw Samantha in the living room, chatting with my sister. Her smile faltered. "Mira, please come in," I said, my voice calm, controlled. "We're so happy you could join us to celebrate. Ethan and I were just talking about old friends earlier. Isn't that right, honey?" Ethan looked like he might actually pass out. I led Mira inside, introduced her to people. "This is Mira Lawson, an old college friend of Ethan's. They've reconnected recently. Isn't that wonderful?" I could see Samantha across the room, starting to look confused. Could see her watching Mira. Could see the wheels turning. Ethan tried to pull me aside. "Mara, can I talk to you in the kitchen for a minute?" "Not now, honey," I said brightly. "We have guests. Let's sit down for dinner, shall we?" I'd spent weeks planning the seating arrangement. Ethan was at the head of the table, of course. I was at the other end. Zara and Ryan on one side, Ella and Malcolm across from them, and then, strategically placed, Samantha on Ethan's right, Mira on his left, the two women who'd been sharing him, who'd been taking turns with my husband, who'd been living off the lies he fed them, sitting on either side of him. Neither of them realized yet. They were too busy being confused, being polite, trying to figure out why they were both here. But Ethan knew. Oh, he knew. His hand shook as he reached for his water glass. "Let's bless the food," I said. Everyone bowed their heads. "Dear Lord, we thank you for this day, for this food, for gathering us together to celebrate truth and commitment. We ask that you bless this meal and the revelations that come with it. Amen." "Amen," everyone echoed, except Ethan. He just stared at me. Dinner started. The food was perfect. People were eating, talking, laughing. Samantha was making small talk with Zara about marketing. Mira was discussing real estate with Malcolm. Normal conversation. Pleasant conversation. I let it go on for 30 minutes. Let everyone get comfortable. Let Ethan sweat. And then I stood up. "Excuse me, everyone. If I could have your attention for a moment." The table quieted. All eyes turned to me. "First of all, thank you all for being here tonight. It means the world to me to be surrounded by the people I love, the people who supported me on this milestone occasion. Smiles around the table. Ethan looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. 30 years is a long time. 3 decades of marriage, of partnership, of commitment, of trust. I paused, let that word hang in the air. Or, at least, that's what I thought. The temperature in the room shifted. "Mama," Zara said quietly. "It's okay, baby," I told her. Then I turned my attention to the table at large. "See, I invited you all here tonight, not just to celebrate, but to bear witness, because I believe in truth. I believe in honesty. And I believe that when someone wrongs you, you have every right to expose that wrong." "Mara," Ethan started to stand. "Sit down," I said, my voice sharp as a blade. He sat. 3 months ago, I discovered that my husband has been having an affair. Gasps around the table. Actually, correction. Affairs. Plural. Samantha's fork clattered to her plate. Myra's face went pale. And you know what the interesting thing is? Both of the women he's been sleeping with are here tonight. In fact, they're sitting right next to him. Okay, I know you're dying right now. Go ahead and drop a comment. Tell me how you would have handled this. And subscribe if you haven't already, because we're not done yet. The silence was deafening. Samantha looked at Mira. Mira looked at Samantha. Both of them looked at Ethan. What is she talking about? Samantha said, her voice shaking. "I think you know exactly what I'm talking about," I said calmly. "Let me help clarify. Samantha, you've been seeing my husband for 8 months. You met him at a conference in Birmingham. He told you he was going to leave me, didn't he? Told you that you were special, that you were the one." Her face crumbled. She looked at Ethan. "You told me you were separated. You told me..." "And Mira," I continued, "you've been with him for 6 months. Old college flames, rekindling your romance. He probably told you something similar, that the marriage was dead, that he was just waiting for the right time." Mira stood up abruptly. "I don't have to listen to this." "Actually, you do," I said, "because you're in my house, eating my food, sitting at my table. The least you can do is listen." "This is insane," Samantha said, turning to Ethan. "Tell her she's wrong. Tell her this is a mistake." Ethan said nothing, just sat there, his face ashen. "He can't tell you I'm wrong," I said, "because I'm not. I have phone records. I have credit card statements. I have emails. I have photographs. I have receipts from hotels, from restaurants, from jewelry stores. Should I share them? I had them printed out. They're in the kitchen, if anyone wants to see the evidence." "Mara, please." Ethan finally found his voice. "Not like this. Not like this." I laughed, and it was a sound I didn't recognize coming from my own mouth. "How should I have done it, Ethan? Should I have confronted you privately, given you the chance to lie to me some more, to make me feel crazy, to gaslight me into thinking I was imagining things?" I turned to the rest of the table. My daughter had tears streaming down her face. Ella was gripping Malcolm's hand, so hard her knuckles were white. My sister looked like she wanted to commit murder. "I spent 30 years building a life with this man," I continued, my voice steady even though my heart was racing. "I supported him through law school. I raised our daughter. I kept our home. I stood by him through job losses, through his mother's death, through everything. And this is how he repaid me." "Mama," Zara sobbed. "Mama, I'm so sorry." "Don't you apologize, baby. You did nothing wrong." I looked at Ethan. Only one person at this table owes me an apology, and I don't even want it, because it would be meaningless. Samantha was crying now, too. "I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know he was still married. He said..." I know what he said. I interrupted. "Men like him, they're very good at saying what women want to hear. They're very good at making you believe you're special, that you're different, that this time it's real love. I turned to Mira. And you knew better. You knew he was married because you met me years ago at that reunion. Maybe you didn't recognize me tonight, but you knew he had a wife. Myra's jaw clenched. People change. Marriages end. I didn't do anything wrong. You slept with a married man, I said flatly. You knew he had a wife, and you didn't care. You thought you could take him from me. You thought you won. Maybe I did win. Mira shot back, anger replacing her shock. Maybe you're just bitter because you couldn't keep your husband happy. The room exploded. Zara shouted something. Ella stood up. Ethan finally found his voice and started yelling at Mira to stop. It was chaos, exactly the kind of messy, public spectacle that Ethan would have done anything to avoid. And I stood there, calm in the center of the storm, and smiled. Because this was what I wanted. This was the truth laid bare. This was accountability. I raised my hand, and somehow everyone quieted. You know what the sad part is? I said, neither of you won anything. You want to know why? Because the man you've been fighting over, the man you've been sharing, he's not worth it. He's a liar. He's a cheater. He's a man who doesn't respect women, who doesn't value commitment, who thinks he can have everything he wants without consequences. I finally let myself look directly at Ethan. Really look at him. I loved you, I said quietly. I loved you with everything I had. And you threw it away. For what? For excitement? For ego? For the thrill of feeling young again? Mara, I'm sorry, he said, and he was crying now. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know how it got so out of control. Out of control, I repeated, like it was an accident. Like you accidentally started 2 separate relationships. Like you accidentally lied to 3 different women for months. Like you accidentally used a secret credit card to fund your betrayals. I walked over to him, and he looked up at me with something like hope in his eyes. Like maybe, somehow, I might forgive him. Like maybe this whole dinner was some elaborate way of getting to reconciliation. I leaned down close to his ear. I want you out of my house by tomorrow night. I whispered. I've already talked to a lawyer. Divorce papers will be filed on Monday, and you're going to give me everything I'm entitled to. Half of everything we built, plus compensation for your betrayal. Because if you don't, every single person in your life, in your office, in your church, will know exactly what you did. Do you understand me? I pulled back, looked at his face, saw the realization dawn, saw him understand that this wasn't just about public humiliation. This was about consequences. This was about me winning. The dinner ended in chaos, as you might imagine. Samantha left first, practically running to her car, still crying. Mira left right after, but not before shooting me a look of pure hatred. Good. Let her hate me. At least she knew the truth now. Ethan tried to talk to me, tried to pull me aside, but Ella's husband Malcolm, all 6'3", 240 pounds of him, stepped between us. I think you've said enough for one night, Malcolm told him, his voice low and dangerous. Ethan left, went upstairs, packed a bag, and left. Didn't even try to argue, didn't even fight back. The guests who remained, my real family, my real friends, they stayed to help clean up. Nobody knew quite what to say. The silence was heavy with shock and sympathy. Zara hugged me for a long time, both of us crying finally, the tears I'd been holding back for 3 months finally breaking free. Why didn't you tell me? She asked. I could have helped you. Because I needed to do this my way. I told her. I needed to be strong enough to face it on my own terms. You're the strongest person I know, she said, echoing Ella's words from days before. After everyone left, Ella stayed behind. We sat in my living room, surrounded by the remnants of the dinner, the decorations, the flowers, the carefully planned details of my revenge. "Girl," Ella said finally, "that was the most dramatic thing I've ever seen in my life." "Good," I said. He deserved dramatic. He deserved public. He deserved to feel a fraction of the humiliation and pain he put me through. Those women, though, especially that young one, she really didn't seem to know. She didn't, I admitted, and part of me feels bad about that. But she needed to know what kind of man she was involved with. Better she finds out now than waste years on him, like I did. You didn't waste years, Mara. You built a life. You raised a beautiful daughter. You created a home. That wasn't wasted. I looked around at the house, at the life I'd built. No, I agreed. It wasn't wasted. But it's over now. That chapter is closed. What are you going to do? Move forward, I said. That's all I can do. The next few weeks were hard. Word spread fast. In a community like ours, where everyone knows everyone, a scandal like this, it was the talk of every church service, every hair salon, every grocery store conversation. Some people were on my side. They called me brave, strong, inspiring. They said Ethan got what he deserved, that I'd handled it perfectly. Others thought I'd gone too far. They said I should have handled it privately, that I'd embarrassed everyone, that I'd been cruel. I didn't care what they thought. Ethan tried to come back, sent flowers, sent cards, sent our pastor to talk to me about forgiveness and marriage and working things out. I told the pastor, respectfully, that I'd already forgiven Ethan in my heart, so I could move on with my life, but forgiveness didn't mean I had to stay married to him. Forgiveness didn't erase consequences. The divorce was messy but straightforward. My lawyer, a sharp black woman named Mrs. Henderson who'd been practicing for 30 years, she made sure I got everything I was entitled to, the house, half his retirement, alimony, everything. Ethan's career took a hit, too. Word got out at his firm. Turns out professional organizations frown on partners who lie and cheat and use company events to facilitate affairs. He didn't lose his job, but he lost respect, lost clients, lost standing. Good. Samantha, I heard through the grapevine, left town, moved to Charlotte to get away from the scandal. I hope she learned something from it all. I hope she found someone honest. Mira? She's still here, still selling real estate. We've never spoken again, and I'm fine with that. I see her sometimes around town, and she avoids making eye contact. That's fine, too. 6 months after the dinner, I was finally ready to start thinking about what came next. I'd spent those months healing, going to therapy, journaling, spending time with Zara, and my grandbaby. Yes, I became a grandmother right in the middle of all this, a beautiful baby girl named after my grandmother. I'd spent time with Ella, with my sister, with my church family, the people who really mattered, who really loved me. I'd spent time alone, too, learning who I was without being someone's wife, learning what I wanted, what I liked, what made me happy. I sold the house. Too many memories, too much history. I bought a smaller place, a condo downtown that was all mine, decorated it exactly how I wanted, no compromises, no considering anyone else's opinion. I went back to school, too, started taking classes at the community college, business administration, because why not? I'd been managing a dental office for years. Maybe it was time to think about starting my own business. I traveled, took a trip to Paris with Ella, something we'd talked about for years, but never done. Walked the streets, ate the food, felt like myself for the first time in decades. I dated. Nothing serious, just coffee dates here and there. Testing the waters, remembering what it felt like to be pursued, to be appreciated, to be valued. And slowly, piece by piece, I rebuilt myself. Not into who I was before Ethan, not into the woman who'd lost herself in a marriage, but into someone new, someone stronger, someone who knew her worth. People ask me sometimes if I regret the dinner, if I think I went too far, if I wish I'd handled it differently. The answer is always no. Could I have confronted Ethan privately? Sure. Could I have filed for divorce quietly, without the drama, without the public spectacle? Absolutely. But here's what I learned, and what I want every woman listening to this to understand. Your pain deserves to be acknowledged. Your betrayal deserves to be named. Your truth deserves to be told. For too long, women have been taught to suffer in silence, to protect men's reputations at the cost of our own peace, to make ourselves smaller so others can feel bigger. I was done with that. I spent 3 months planning that dinner because I wanted Ethan to feel what I felt. I wanted him to experience the humiliation of being exposed. I wanted him to understand that actions have consequences. And I wanted those women to know the truth, because they deserve that too. Was it revenge? Yes, absolutely. I'm not going to pretend it was just about justice or truth. It was about making him pay for what he did to me. But it was also about reclaiming my power, about standing up for myself, about refusing to be a victim in my own story. My grandmother used to say, "Baby girl, don't get mad. Get even, and then get ahead." I got even, and now I'm getting ahead. It's been a year since the dinner. I'm 56 now. My hair has more gray in it, which I've decided to embrace instead of dye. I've got laugh lines around my eyes from actually laughing again, something I didn't realize I'd stopped doing until I started again. Zara and I are closer than ever. My grandbaby is walking now, saying, "Grandma," in that way that makes my heart melt every single time. Ryan, my son-in-law, he told me once that what I did inspired him to always be honest with Zara, to never take her for granted. I'll take that. Ella and I are planning another trip, this time to Italy. Because why not? We're not getting any younger, and life is too short not to see the world. My business is doing well. I started a consulting firm for small businesses, helping them with office management and organization. Turns out, 30 years of keeping a household running and managing a dental practice taught me skills that people will pay for. I'm not rich, but I'm comfortable. I'm not married, but I'm not lonely. I'm not young, but I'm not done living. I saw Ethan a few months ago at Zara's baby shower. We were civil, polite. He looked older, tired. He asked how I was doing. "I'm doing great," I told him, and I meant it. He nodded, looked like he wanted to say something else, but didn't. Just walked away. I didn't feel anything watching him go. No anger, no sadness, no regret, just nothing. And that's how I knew I'd healed. You know what the real victory was? It wasn't the dinner, as satisfying as that was. It wasn't the divorce settlement, though that helped. The real victory was waking up one morning and realizing I didn't think about Ethan anymore. Didn't wonder what he was doing, who he was with, if he was happy. The real victory was looking in the mirror and liking the woman I saw, respecting her, being proud of her. The real victory was my grandbaby reaching for me, calling my name, choosing me. The real victory was sitting in my own space, decorated exactly how I wanted it, with nobody to answer to, nobody to compromise for, and feeling completely at peace. The real victory was proving to myself that I could survive the worst betrayal of my life and come out stronger on the other side. Women, especially Black women, we're taught to be strong for everyone else, to hold families together, to forgive and forget, to make peace and keep quiet. But sometimes strength isn't about holding things together. Sometimes it's about knowing when to let them fall apart. Sometimes strength is about standing in the rubble of what was and saying, I deserve better than this. Sometimes strength is about choosing yourself. I wrote a letter to Ethan once, after everything was said and done. Never sent it, but writing it helped me process everything. This is what it said. Dear Ethan, I hope you understand now what you lost. Not just me, though you did lose me, but you lost the life we could have had, the partnership we could have continued building, the respect and trust that took 30 years to create and only months to destroy. I hope you think about me when you're with someone new. I hope you wonder if she's really happy or if she's just pretending the way I pretended for months after I found out about your affairs. I hope you realize that you didn't lose me because I wasn't enough. You lost me because you weren't. But more than anything, I hope you learn. I hope you become better. Not for me. I'm done caring about your growth. But for the sake of the next woman who might be foolish enough to trust you, I'm not sorry for what I did at that dinner. I'm only sorry I didn't value myself enough to leave sooner. You taught me a valuable lesson. Ethan, you taught me that I can survive anything, that I'm stronger than I knew, that I deserve more than settling for someone who sees me as an option instead of a priority. So thank you, I guess, for showing me exactly who you were, for forcing me to choose myself, for giving me a reason to start over. I'm going to be just fine without you. Better than fine, actually. I hope you can say the same. Mara, like I said, I never sent it, but writing it gave me closure. Sometimes that's all we need, a way to say the words, even if the person we need to say them to never hears them. If you're listening to this story because you're going through something similar, let me tell you a few things. First, trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking you're paranoid or crazy. Your instincts are there for a reason. Second, gather your evidence. I know it's painful. I know it hurts to look at phone records and credit card statements and confirm what you already know. But you need documentation. You need proof. Especially if you're going to leave, you need to protect yourself legally and financially. Third, don't rush. I know everyone wants to tell you what to do, how to handle it, when to leave. But this is your life, your decision, your timeline. Take the time you need to process, to plan, to prepare. Fourth, build your support system. Tell people you trust. You don't have to go through this alone. When I finally told Ella, when I finally let someone else carry some of the weight with me, it made everything more bearable. Fifth, remember that his choices are not a reflection of your worth. This is important. Whether he cheated because you gained weight, or you were too busy with the kids, or you didn't do enough, none of that matters. His choice to betray you was his choice, his failure, his character flaw. And finally, know that you will survive this. I promise you that. It might not feel like it right now. It might feel like your whole world is ending. But you are stronger than you know. You will get through this. You will heal. You will build a new life. And that new life might be even better than the old one. You deserve faithfulness. You deserve honesty. You deserve respect. You deserve love that doesn't come with betrayal attached. Don't settle for less. Last week, I ran into one of the women from church. She'd been at the anniversary dinner, had witnessed the whole thing. Mara, she said, pulling me aside after service, I need to thank you. I was surprised. Thank me? For what? For being brave enough to do what you did. For showing all of us that we don't have to accept disrespect. That we don't have to protect men who hurt us. She paused, looked around to make sure no one else was listening. My husband has been cheating on me for 2 years, she whispered. I've known for 6 months. I've been too scared to do anything about it, too worried about what people would say, about dividing our assets, about being alone. She grabbed my hand, But watching you, seeing how you handled everything with such dignity and strength, it inspired me. I filed for divorce last month, and I wanted you to know that you gave me the courage to do it. I hugged her tight, this woman I barely knew, and we both cried right there in the church parking lot. That's when I realized that the anniversary dinner wasn't just about me. It wasn't just about getting even with Ethan. It was about showing other women that they deserve better, that they can demand better, that they can survive and thrive after betrayal. So that's my story. That's how I invited my husband's mistresses to our anniversary dinner and came out on top. Was it messy? Yes. Was it dramatic? Absolutely. Would I do it again? In a heartbeat. Because at the end of the day, I didn't just expose Ethan's lies. I freed myself. I took back my power. I chose myself. And that's a victory that no amount of time, no amount of shared history, no amount of, but you were married for 30 years can diminish. I'm Mara. I'm 56 years old. I'm divorced. I'm a mother, a grandmother, a friend, a business owner. And I'm finally, truly, completely free. If you're in a situation like I was, I hope my story helps you. I hope it gives you courage. I hope it reminds you that you deserve better. And if you're just here for the drama, well, I hope I delivered. Either way, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me tell my truth. Before you go, make sure you're subscribed to this channel for more stories like this. Hit that like button if this story resonated with you, and drop a comment below. Tell me, was I wrong for what I did? Or did Ethan get exactly what he deserved? I want to hear from you. And remember, you are worthy. You are valuable. You are enough. Don't ever let anyone make you forget that. This is Mara, signing off. Until next time, choose yourself. Always choose yourself.